All right. So we are going to get into what's inside AppStudio. The first thing we want to do, at least for this week, is to just introduce you to a little bit into what is QML. We're not going to talk everything QML. That's going to be on Tuesday next week, but we are going to talk about just the first overview. So the first overview on the number one section, we're just going to talk about what is QML, how is the syntax look like, and how is it compare with web development. So, and then we're going to do a little exercise. I'm going to show you a live demo, and then I'm going to also have a small exercise editing the current template. So just overview. I know a lot of people are familiar with web development with HTML, so we want to use that as comparison. So if we want to compare building website and building native app using AppStudio. So when you build website, you use HTML and JavaScript. You write your HTML for user interface. You create your div, li, lu, and all of that to create all of the how the website is going to look like, the UI component. And you use JavaScript to do the business logic. I'm talking about, this is the most basic website. I know website has gone crazy now. You create UI using JavaScript and all framework, so many things. But in the most fundamental and basic way, that's how you use it. Now, if you think about that on creating native app with AppStudio, you use QML. QML, it's when you create the rectangle. As a sample on this slide, I showed a sample of how to create a button. So you create a button, you give what's the text on the button, and how is the styling of this button. So both HTML and QML play similar role here to create the UI. In AppStudio, we are currently using the JavaScript ECMAScript 5 to do the logic, which I'm going to show later. And so in that way, it's very similar. I know some the ES version of JavaScript right now in web is way ahead, but for AppStudio, we're using ECMAScript 5. And both of them follow asynchronous programming. So everything will just flow, and then you have event listener when when an event happen, when a click of a button happen. Sounds good. I hope I set the expectation. I set this clear so that that's how similar it is creating native app with AppStudio and doing web development. So, but they're not the same. There are differences. I'm going to talk about what's good in QML. There is something called property binding in QML that web doesn't have. Talking about basic web, I know framework now has some, but and in QML we do not have DOM. So if you create, I mean, if you use jQuery a lot when you create components using JavaScript, we don't have that. We do not have the DOM itself, but you can create component using JavaScript in QML, but it's not using document object model. You create components inside QML. So an example here that to say hello world in HTML, you create you get the document, you get the element ID, and then you set the inner HTML to hello world. But in QML, for example, you have a rectangle 400 by 400. You have a text object with an ID greetings, and then you create an event listener saying that when this component is completed, it's being loaded, call the JavaScript function hello, and then the JavaScript function hello has greetings.text, meaning that you're referring to the text component in QML that has an ID greetings, and then you set the properties of this component, which is text, and you're setting it to be hello world. You're gonna to see this later, but I'm trying to set a stage here. So as we mentioned, QML stand for Qt Meta Language. It's a markup language that it's a declarative language. You declare it. Declarative describe what to do, and imperative describe how to do it. For example, on the left, if you want to create a rectangle, you want to declare a rectangle with a width and a height of so and so. And on the right, if you use an imperative language, if you want to create a rectangle of 500, you're actually creating a line, a path to create that. What I'm trying to say is that it's easier. I hope I get that message across. Other benefits with QML is easy, quick prototyping. It has good animation. You can compartmentalize the code, reuse the code. You can create a separate component and then just reuse the same component. It has property binding, Signal, ECMAScript, and then backed by the native C++. This is how this UI can be translated into all of the platform that we support. So, for example, here in every this is the same code that we have for Hello World in QML, and as many of other programming language, you need to import something. And we said that it's using a Qt library for UI. So we are going to import Qt quick version something. So you're importing Qt UI library. That way you would have rectangle text to be available in your code. And after that, if you see that you declare an object, you declare we want to have a rectangle with an ID of a map, with an ID of an app, width and height 400 pixel. And then inside the rectangle, there is a text that's anchored to parent, and it says hello world. If you notice that the way the object nested, it looks like a JSON file, right? With attribute value pair. So each of the component has its own properties that you can assign value to it. And attribute, it's the term they use, it's properties of a component. So text is the property, width is the properties, height is the property, ID is the property. And that's how it looks like. Simple rectangle, 400 by 400, with a text that is anchored to be centered by its parent, font size 20, and it says hello world. I just look at significance of an ID app. ID could be a string or it could be anything, but the ID is optional. So again, QML construct the UI, JavaScript construct the application logic. For example, this is a little bit more complicated app that we have. If you see here, I'm going to have a mouse. We have an import statement, a little bit more than before. We have a Qt quick and quick control. We have a rectangle, same rectangle with width and a height. And see the difference here. We have another property introduced. It's color, which is the background color of a rectangle. We set the rectangle to be green. Not only it can accept the hexadecimal value, it can also accept simple English word for color, just generalization. And then we have a button in the middle in replacement of the text that says change color, that is also anchored and centered in parents. But we have an event listener. It's called onClick that will take a JavaScript function or a set of JavaScript codes. For this example, it says that if the color of app.color, see, that's when the ID will become useful. It's green, and change the app.color into red. Otherwise, keep the color of the app to be green. And the result of this, we have a rectangle, we have a button in the middle, and if you click on that button, the color, the background of the rectangle will change. So I'm going to actually show you. Let me look at the time. We have still time. So I'm going to break out of this slide and then give you a little demo. And this demo, this exercise is available in the folder. If you wanted to do it along with me, you can. If you want to just copy and paste from there, you can also. So this is the AppStudio desktop that I have. I'm going to create a new app, simple app from here. I'm just going to say change color. Create a new app from a simple app. And then I need to go inside the source code of this app. You can do it by click on the left panel, edit in Qt Creator, or you can right click, say edit in Qt Creator. So I'm going to do that, and it's going to open a separate application. It's called Qt Creator. This is the IDE. This is where you're going to change the code of this app. So if you take a look at the files that we have in this app, we have QML project, we have the app icon, app info JSON. I can show you. This is, as I said earlier, this is showing what are all of the setting that you have in the setting page that is on the JSON file. So all of this say we know that the audio is false, and then device stops desktop. All of the information is here. We also has item info. This item info reflects the item information for ArcGIS Online or Enterprise. And my app.qml, that is the main file that we wanted to work with. So before I touch what is in the code, I'm going to run it. You can run, I know that you have learned how to run the app from AppStudio Desktop, but you can also run the app from Qt Creator. The way to run the app is there are many ways. You can click on the green triangle on the bottom left corner called Run, or you can go to Tools, AppStudio, and then Run, or you can use that shortcut. For me on Macs, Option Shift R. I think on Windows it's Control Shift R. So you can use either of those three ways to run the app. So I'm going to run the app first. I'm going to click Run, and then give you console messages. And this is how the app looks like. This is the basic app. We can take a look at this. Simply, we have import statement. There's a different here. It's say app because we install app framework. App gives you more stuff, which we are going to talk about next week. We don't need to worry about that. If we wish, we can even just remove that and change this to rectangle, and it would still be the same for the purpose of this demo. We have a width and a height of 400 and 600. We have a text in the middle that says my app. So we're going to change that and to do that to do that little demonstration on changing the color. So we already have the rectangle. I don't need this too. I'm going to just remove it. And I'm going to, so we don't need this, right? We want button. So the way I'm going to do is like, I'm gonna type button. If you see here, I just put BU and then it auto completes of what are the available Qt component based on the import statement. So I'm going to just tap here and then open and close curly bracket. I'm going to say that I want the button to be has a text of change color. And then position to be anchored in, to be centered in parents. When I said parents here, this could be parents or this could just be app, because then app is also the parent of the rectangle. And then this is done. I'm going to just run this now first before. So now we have a rectangle. We have a button that say change color that is center, center in the rectangle. So now when I click on this, it doesn't do anything yet because we don't have the event listener. It doesn't do anything because we have not coded yet. So we are going to add an on-click event here. So we're going to type on-click and then open and close curly bracket. This is where you put the JavaScript code. You can call a JavaScript function that you have predefined, and you could call other JavaScript library that you have added into the project. So right now I'm going to say if Qt.color equal, just like in JavaScript, you can do some math operation equal sum, sub, and string operation. Qt has its own built-in methods available too. So one of them is to check if the color is equal to something. So I'm going to say app.color, meaning the color of the app, which I have not specified. So I'm going to add this to be color, let's say green. We're going to check if app.color is equal to green. So now we are checking if the color is the same as green, and then we are going to set the app.color equal to red. I know a lot of the hardcore developers gonna tell me this, but in Qt, the semicolon in the end is optional. The compiler in Qt is able to pick up and add that in the end of the compilation, so you don't need to. So else, change it to app.color to be back to green. So now if I run this again, we have the rectangle with the background color to green, and then I click on this and it changed color, and I click on this again, it changed it back to green. I know there's people have question with the app, so I can change this name to be my rectangle, and this could be, then anything that I said referring to app would need to be updated. So now this is anchor in my rectangle, and also my rectangle dot color is if the my rectangle color is green, and set my rectangle dot color is red, and then also my rectangle here. So it's just an ID. It's just a way for us to refer to that component later. So if anyone wants to try this, the source code for this is available in the day 2 folder. But for the purpose of time, I have a small demo of how applying a little bit that we have learned to make changes to the template. So if I go back to AppStudio, Tina has shared I feel like that is a really cool custom profile and set of app that we all need right now. So we have a map viewer that will tell you all of the hospital in the US. But I know where the hospital is, but what it would be easier if the app can help me show how to get there as soon as possible. I mean, I know it is on the map, but I need a way to get there fast, right? We need to get to the hospital. You just need to show how to get to the hospital. So I'm going to show you how to add a direction button, add an additional button into this panel, so that when you click on that button, it would open Google Map or Apple Map. We're not even going to talk about adding the direction here. We're let Google and Apple. They're really good on getting us direction. So we're gonna use their API and open their app so that it can tell us how to get to this hospital in the shortest possible way. So I have made a copy of the map viewer app that Tina has. You all can follow this by using the National Park Trail map viewer app that you did on Tuesday, or simply just create a new map viewer. It still work the same way. So this is the app, Hospital Finder Direction. So I'm going to open the source code. As you can see, it's a little bit more source code here. We have asset, we have font, background page, and we have a folder called map viewer that has, this is the map viewer app.qml. It has a lot of properties that's predefined. For example, where's the portal URL? The portal URL will get the properties from the portal URL setting that we have. By default, it's going to set to ArcGIS Online, but if you set something, and it will use whatever portal that you have. So I'm going to get to this example really quick here. So if you see the way the source code is laid out, we have a control that we talk about reusability. So now, for example, we create our own component. For example, we have a panel page that is simply a pop-up, but it has its own way and user interface of our own. So we have branded a cute pop-up component that we call panel.qml. Then we could reuse throughout the app, so that we don't have to rewrite all of this setting that we have for our panel. And we have images, the images that we use, and we have views. This view is every single page and little component that you see on the app, named by its own named by its use. So for example, here I'm going to, so we want to, I already know this, I mean, we're going to make changes to panel page.qml. So I'm going to open panel page. As you can see, panel page use control.panel. Where is that control? Control, we say import the control folder, and we define it as a controls, and then we use control.panel. So remember I showed you before in the control page, we have a panel. We customize cute pop-up so that it has our own interface. So now we are customizing, so we are reusing that panel page for this panel that we are going to change. Remember, we wanted to run this. We wanted to make changes into this panel page. So we want to make changes on this panel page. So we are going to change panel. So I've already found this. So I'm going to search for identify feature view. So I'm going to add something here. Workshop. I have the code ready. The code for this is also available in the day 2 folder. So I'm going to paste this. A little trick, you can Control A and Control I, it will be indented automatically. So let's talk about what I just add. What I just add is that I print out the current selected features that's being set. So when you select here, and then it will print us what is this feature geometry JSON. So I want to get the geometry of this. And then I created a special reference to 4326 because Google understand 4326. So I project that geometry to be in 4326 special reference web Mercator. And then I print it out just to see if it's projected correctly. And then I assign that projected geometry into a new properties, direction lat and direction long. So this is all JavaScript. This is all JavaScript using ArcGIS runtime. This is all, I use ArcGIS runtime. There are a lot of other way in JavaScript. Natively, you can project geometry and all. So I'm adding this, and then I'm going to add the user interface for that button that we are going to add. So I'm going to go to identify feature view, which is a list view. I'm going to initialize a new property that we just created, which is the direction long and direction lat. So I created 2 new property. Direction long and direction lat, the one that we are using. And then we are going to add a button. We're going to add a button here. So the way I know, let me add this here. The way I know that this is where I want it to be, I'll show you a little trick here. So I see that I have a list view with the header item, and then I wanted to add it in the header. So there's an item here that will say what is the layer name of this header, and I am adding stuff inside the header after a little filler here. So I'm going to copy a button. I've already created it, but I'm going to talk about it when we. So I've added a button. So I will delete this. Probably not needed. So what I did is just simply create a button that will say direction, and then it would be centered horizontally. And then on the click of this button, I'm going to compose a URL to open a Google Map or Apple Map with a direction lat and direction long appended to it. This is the URL that Google Map and Apple Map provide. So on the browser, on the desktop, it will open the URL. It will open in the web browser. But if you do this on a mobile phone, it will open Google Map or Apple Maps. And then I have this a little trick here. Say if we detect the operating system of the platform is iOS, then I'm going to use the Apple Map. So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to run it. Oop. 239. Apparently, I have made a mistake. One more. There you go. I miss a curly bracket. So now, when I click on the panel, I can see that there is a direction page here. And as you can see here, this is my console log. I have projected this, and then now it's going to open, and it's open on a separate window. It opens Google Maps that will point to this location of the hospital. On the phone, it automatically detects your current location and then give you the direction. So what I'm going to do next after this is to upload this app just to finish the story of the distribution. I'm going to upload this app and I'm going to share it to the group so that the custom profile can see it. So I'm going to upload this and then share it to Tina, share it to the group that Tina has shared me. And then now you can see it as part of the group. So it's gonna name Hospital Finder with direction. Going to update this. Once it's updated, and I'm going to share it to the group that Tina has created. And then for some of you who can open this custom profile that we share, you will be able to see these changes on your phone. All right, I'm going to open this and log in. All right, I have logged in. And I'm going to share this to groups. I think the name of the group is COVID-19, right, Tina?
Yes.
And I will click OK and save. Now this changes so this is to complete the workflow. You create something, you create custom profile, and then someone look at it, something's missing, and you go back as a developer, add or remove whatever you don't want or you want, then re-upload it and then share it to the group, and then now you can see it or in the player. With that, that's all I have. We're gonna open the stage for question.
Maybe Irvin, could
you
you
want to show?
you please quickly show
Go ahead.
where can we find the documentation in Q Creator?
Oh, yes.
Tab F1. Yeah,
Yep.
that would be very, very helpful.
So let me reshare it again. All right, so Qt Creator, I mean, Qt Creator has a lot of components. Even ArcGIS runtime has a lot of component. Up framework has a lot of component. You can go open a website and Google, say, QML. I could show it. Just say QML button, and then you can see all of the properties that it has, what is inherits, and then some sample on how to use the button on QML. Same way with runtime. You can go to developers.argis.com, go to Qt, open the API reference or QML sample of this, and then you would see each of that. For example, map, and then you can see the properties of the maps, sample, and all of that. Same with AppStudio framework. AppStudio framework uh, reference. You can open the API reference, and then you can go and then you can take a look at the properties of the, but this is to see it on the website. You can also see this inside the Qt creator that we provide. So if you hover over this, and then on Windows, it's a little bit different on Mac and Windows. If you type F1, oh, I think it's opening on the, if you click F1 on your function, F1, if you click F1 on your Windows or Macintosh, you hold a function key and F1, it opens a separate windows of the documentation of each of the component. I could go into button. I'll click F1. It'll open the button. I'm going to find map here to show that it will show the ArcGIS runtime map view. So we have map view that is coming from ArcGIS runtime. If I open this, it opens the documentation for map view, but from ArcGIS runtime. Same way with app framework. Let's see, app framework. I think app framework app. I can hover over this and function F1, and then it gives you the documentation of the app framework functionality. That's all I have to share for today. We could I know it's already time, so we are going to stay to answer question if there are any. Yeah, those of you who have raised hands could just maybe speak and ask question.
Sorry, I have easy question for you. Maybe I missed the point. Where is the hospital finder documents for integrate my AppStudio? I couldn't find day one documents.
Sorry, where is the what? My apologies.
Hospital finder web
I'll show you that right now.
Okay.
Sorry,
I'll show you that. So if you go to the the ezraurl.com/AppStudio workshop, it'll bring you to this OneDrive, right, where we have day one. This is where we all went earlier to do day one exercises.
Okay.
But if you go to day two, this is what I would recommend, and this is what I would recommend everyone to kind of do today as far as exercises. Well, there's a few exercises here. There's the custom profile that Tina showed, and you can that will take like 5 minutes. You can do that now, you can do that later. It doesn't matter. If you are new to QML, I would say go through this intro to QML that Erwin just showed. It's real short, but it's just opening Qt Creator, and then I would suggest there's something to be said for actually typing it yourself, not copy and pasting, not watching someone else do it, but actually typing in this code. I know it was a very simple change color, application, but just typing it yourself to get a feel for using Qt Creator. And then the custom map exercise that Erwin just showed. He showed hospitals, but this example is using the Trails app that was in the exercises from day one to add that functionality. We
can share the web map for the hospital. I actually just quickly Google like COVID-19 testing a hospital in ArcGIS Online and create a web map out of it.
Sure. So if you like to do the hospital specifically, yeah, you can do that. We can share that hospital. If you just
Yeah.
like to do basically what he did, but using the in
Yeah.
the map viewer and using national trails, you can follow these directions. So I would highly recommend. I said the custom profile you can do now, you can do later. It's a good exercise, but you don't need to do it in any order. Try that intro to QML. That won't take you very long. It'll just get you, but it'll get you an idea of actually typing code and seeing it inside of Qt Creator, and then do the little customize exercise.
Thank you, Ivy.
You know, we had some people ask some questions in the chat, and almost like, is this feature available? Can I do? And one was specific. Can we view web apps inside of AppStudio Player? Does it require a custom profile? And that was one question. And the answer is it does require a custom profile. But if there's just something like that you would like to see in the product that you think would be helpful, be useful, please. You can send us.
When you guys are working in a team development environment on a project, a single project with multiples of you, what do you use for your source code management?
We have our own enterprise Git. We also have GitHub, but mostly we use internal Git. So Git, basically, that's the answer to the question.
And does it connect directly to AppStudio, or?
No, you just have to specify the folder of the app into the folder of the your project.
Okay, so you just specify where it's at in the repro?
Yeah. We even sometimes make our own Git folder separate from the apps folder that just the two folder has semantic links. If you want your Git folder and your app folder to be that way,
Oh, synchronized?
Yeah.
Is there any documentation on that, Erwin?
The semantic links?
Or just setting up Git or something with AppStudio. I know
No, maybe I can write it down and I'll create one.
I know I know Elvin's talked about it and things.
Yeah,
but I've never.
I'll write it down.
That's if you have multiple developers working on a project and you want to kind of have a source code management.
Yeah, Git related block, right?
I know someone else, a user uses, is it Bitbucket is another one?
Yeah. Well, any code repo, even SVN, TFS, it will work. I mean, it's just a file, right? But yeah, we will work on creating that documentation.
Outstanding, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
And again, if you have any ideas of things you want us to include in the product, please visit the ideas site. We have our own little AppStudio category there, and that goes a long way with if we get user ideas that are put on there, just feature enhancements and things. It goes a long way when we talk to development leads on what we are going to include in the app. So definitely, please utilize that.
LiDAR scanner.
LiDAR scanner.
Thank you.
We already brought it up yesterday.
Yeah, we brought it up and they kind of actually yeah. It's obviously a little ways away, but I think the idea is that LiDAR is similar to a type of it's a type of imagery with a depth, right? Like and maybe I don't know, maybe in the future possible.
Correct. Just pointillism with Z depth to it.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. So we'll have to see how Apple exposes things and stuff. So, or other, when these come out.